Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. This is like an excited group right now. I'm pumped. Hi, everyone. My name is Naomi Hartle, and welcome. And he's dancing in the background. Welcome to the Phys Ed Summit 3.0. If you're just tuning in, you've missed a heck of a morning, or an evening, or an afternoon, whatever it is that you missed. But you can always go back and check it out. Thank you so much for joining us for the Phys Ed Summit 3.0 and for our 24-hour back-to-back global event. 24 hours, we have 37 sessions, I think we have 45 presenters. I don't even know how many people RSVP'd so far. It's been a whirlwind. It's been absolutely crazy. It's been like, what are we, halfway through now? About halfway through? We cannot make this day happen without you and your participation in this event. Your outpouring of support and promotion for this event has been absolutely amazing. By sharing with one person, you've been able to impact hundreds of students. And by coming to the Phys Ed Summit, we're hoping you are able to impact hundreds of different students. Through pushing best practices forward, effective education, professional development, advocacy, we have sessions on just about anything and everything, and it's been an amazing day. Remember, we are using technology. Sarah's been having a few issues. I had a few issues today as well. I got kicked out. So if for some reason the feed stops or you just see us on the screen with a weird look on our face like we're about to say something and we don't, please just be patient with us. We'll try and get a new link up on the Tozzle for you to check out. So if there is no audio or video cuts out, please let us know in the Tozzle in the back channel just so that we know, because we may not know that we're not live. After this Phys Ed Summit, we'll provide a feedback survey. This will be after our debrief that we have as a Phys Ed Summit team at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. All you have to do is fill out the feedback survey and give us a little bit of information about your experience, some of your thoughts, how we can make it better for the Phys Ed Summit 4.0, and in turn you'll get your certificate, which will be your PD hours. Okay, I'm going to quickly share my screen and show you the Tozzle and what this looks like, and then I will introduce our pumped up, oh no, tunnel vision. I will introduce you our excited and amazing presenters. So this is the Tozzle. Now you know this because you've been in it already. Oh no, I didn't show my t-shirt yet, Joe. I'll show you my t-shirt right away. Thank you. So this is the back channel is what we call it. So this is the chat part. Please let us know where you're from, who you are and where you're from, and we can kind of get to know each other a little bit better. If you have any questions, this is where you ask me, and I can talk to Sarah and Andy and relay those messages to you. The Phys Ed Summit hashtag is on there as well as some resources that Andy and Sarah have provided for you. So there is the Tozzle. Now I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to show you my new t-shirt, or not my new one, my t-shirt this time, and then I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to mute myself. So this is the next t-shirt that I was wearing. This is from the kind of physical, well, which one is this one from? Oh, this is from the national conference this year. I don't have so many Phys Ed t-shirts, I don't even know. So that's that one. And okay, I'm going to mute myself and pass it over to Sarah Gietschier-Hartman and Andy Hare.
Hey guys, this is Sarah Gietschier-Hartman. I am a middle school physical educator in St. Louis, Missouri, which is in the United States. And this is my 9th year of teaching physical education and the 5th year at my current school. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at my school. What's up, Andy?
Hey, Sarah, what's happening with you?
You know,
it's almost midnight there, and like I was just doing my maths the other day, or this morning, and your next presenter that you've got in an hour's time is the lucky one because he's going to be able to take you guys over to midnight. My name's Andy Hare. This is my 2nd time today. So I was on at 6 a.m. and then I went and rode 60 mile on at Leopold Primary School, which is based on this, and absolutely love connecting and really make things fantastic. in terms of our learning as well. So yeah, it's super, super cool what we're about to do. Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, it's super cool. So let's get started right away. And just so you know, sometimes when I'm listening to you, there's a little bit of a delay. So if it seems like I'm playing a little bit of catch up, just be patient, everybody. So what we want to talk to you about today is this idea of outcomes-based instruction in phys ed. And for me as a secondary physical education teacher in the United States, I think it's a really new idea. And I'm hoping that it flips some of you on your head a little bit. And it's something that I've been using in my classroom, and it's something that Andy uses, but it looks completely different in Australia because the way that we structure our classes and the curriculums that we offer our students are completely different. So what I mean by outcomes-based instruction in phys ed is, I mean, instead of teaching a traditional sports unit like basketball for 10 days or flag football for 10 days and then another 10 days of soccer, I instead think of one of my outcomes that I need to teach, and I tailor my unit around that outcome, and I offer a different activity every single day in order to meet that outcome. So what does that look like where you're at, Andy?
Yeah, so absolutely, I'm just mind blown by, like, you shared with me how many outcomes you have to measure against, and it's phenomenal for OSVALs. And in recent years, something different. They were all trying to push forward in education, but what they were doing is setting up their own curriculum documents based on their own beliefs inside their own state. And what the Australian government decided was that with all the educators that so we have standards, and our standards are very general in terms of, I'm going to show you in the second week, I'm going to share my screen. But our standards provide us with guidelines for the teachers to interpret, and they give us ideas and prompts to be able to move forward and set lessons around that. But as such as the specific indicators go, we actually don't have those anymore, which is fantastic. Let's give you a bit of a look, and I'll see if I can bring up my... Oops, I think I might go into tunnel vision if I do this one. Tell me if I'm going into tunnel vision there. No, I'm good. Sarah, can you see that web screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So this is this is our OSVAL. So this link is sitting on our TOSL page. And it's broken into, this is just our health and physical education domain. The curriculum looks like, but then there we go, the overview, a slight delay there. And so it gives us the stages of learning, approach to health and physical. So over on the curriculum page, when we have a look at this, we're built into all these stages. Foundation, which is our prep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then in our to demonstrate...
Hey, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. I don't think we can see your screen. Do you think you can try and reshare it or get out and try and go back in again? And if not, can you share the link with Sarah and I in just the chat box, and maybe we can pop it up for you?
Yeah, so it's sitting inside the TOSL page.
Okay.
Okay, so you're just looking at me staring at a screen.
Yeah, I'm just seeing your face right now. So try sharing one more time, and if that doesn't work, then one of us can pop it up, and we'll just go through your slides.
I'll do that one more time. Do you know, I often thought about how many people... Oh, there we go, tunnel vision. Took photos of people that sharing their screen, actually the collage would be amazing because of all those sharing faces.
Very true.
So let me just try and pull that out into a different page.
So is that just the resource document page that you're sharing?
Yeah, you know what? Let me try and do that one more time.
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Now we're on. Did you see that one?
No, I see it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So, yeah, let me go back a couple of steps. Sorry about the hiccup. So, health and physical education. So, this is underneath our OSVALs, which is our curriculum that we need to work towards. And our domain here is health and physical education. We're looking at our curriculum. And as I mentioned before, so we're broken into these number of levels. Foundation, which is our prep or kindergarten, as you would call it, level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so generally, this is the entire guide that we work towards. So we've got our learning focus. As I said, it sets us up. This is our physical story of how we're going to get these kids to. Then our standards down the bottom become a little bit more specific. So this is. So you can see there completely, like straight away, Sarah, it looks completely different to your setup, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It looks completely different. So, like here in the United States, we have these new, fairly new, grade level outcomes that we're supposed to teach against. And so I mentioned earlier that I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Well, there's about 65 different outcomes for each of those grade levels. And so while it's nice to have some specific guidance, it's maybe too specific and it's a little overwhelming. And so my advice is that people really need to pick and choose, if they're in the United States, what outcomes they want to teach and what outcomes they can meet. And I think it's your opportunity as a teacher to be really selfish, because you're first going to have to pick the outcomes that work for you if you want them to work for your students. They've really got to work for you as the teacher first.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, let me take this word, and this is a word that Andy Vasily and I were throwing around in May. We're sitting in front of the same class, but those students will get completely different education because we are different artists. And it's such a cool word because, you know, being teachers, we're actors, we're performers, we're artists, and we're physical education teachers. And, you know, using all those ideas to build lessons becomes a really effective tool is being able to dig deep and look the different way. We're not looking at teaching through teachers' eyes. We're looking at learning through students' eyes. And that's where the artistic flair really comes in, because as soon as we start looking at things through the students' eyes, we can connect with those standards and really work backwards from those to be able to energize the kids and make learning really visible, learning really powerful.
Yeah, so Andy, somebody just asked in the Tazzle, they said, what would be a fair number to choose out of 65 outcomes? And my answer is not meant to be facetious at all. But I said, how many can you effectively teach? That's your answer. You know, if you say, oh, well, I'm going to try to get 35 of them, and you rush through a whole bunch of them and they aren't taught effectively, then you didn't really teach those outcomes the way you could have. So it's, are you being effective every single day? Are you making sure that your students are learning? Are you assessing them effectively? You know, I think that's your answer.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Sarah, if I was to use your curriculum here in Australia, then I would say that my guess for those 65, 10 only. And the reason I choose 10 is because setting the scene, getting kids to know what's expected, setting them up, putting that pizza, and really concentrating on the dough and working in that real base level of understanding. Then the second one, they'd be starting to apply some sort of skill that they are showing. And then we'd have stop and starts, little timeouts, and get the kids moved to that next level. The third session, they would consolidate their understanding of that and really start to demonstrate their growth. And I'm talking in 2 weeks here, like we're trying to get them to demonstrate growth against a standard that they only learned 3 weeks ago. And then the fourth week, if we wanted to, we would assess and then move on. And it becomes a really jam-packed program. So the idea there, and I'm so stoked that the next presenter coming in an hour is Bernie Holland, because Bernie and I have talked a lot about absolutely massive. And, you know, again, let me take it back, I guess, to training for an Ironman, which I know a little bit about. So training for an Ironman, the race goes for 12 hours if you had a bad day. Now, there's no way in the world you could go out and train for 12 hours every single day. You'd absolutely be fried. But quality comes before quantity, and if you can build quality into your body, then the effectiveness of the overall goal is a lot richer. And it's the same in teaching, that you look at something you value and you really build it properly before you move on. Because again, if we look at it from a teacher's point of view and a government's point of view, and we're trying to meet all these kids, which are our business, if we look through it from then yes, we're finding that we're actually not getting through all these standards, but it's making us select. The Australian curriculum that we work by at the moment is a lot more forgiving. I have 40 weeks to work through the same standard, and what I'm trying to measure is, with my job as a sole physical education teacher, is point to my curriculum advisor in my school how my kids are actually moving through and meeting that goal. But I can use anything that I like. You know, I got skateboarding coming up in 3 weeks. You know, my artistic flair will be actually designing a sequence of lessons that the kids can actually become successful in. So yeah, it's really, really cool, and it's really interesting. I'm so cool that you and I have connected on this.
Yeah, so, you know, we've got some really, really big projects coming up our sleeve that I don't know if we're going to have time to really share them with the audience today. But, yeah, Andy and I have really been collaborating and communicating these past couple months. So winter for him, summer for me, and just chit-chatting about stuff. So hold on. We've got one question that just came up, so maybe we want to answer that first. When you decide to teach a grade level outcome, do you only teach that particular outcome if you feel you can get your students to reach level 1 and level 2? Or will you teach an outcome to your 6th graders and say they will only hit level 1 this year and they will hit level 2 as a 7th grader? Okay, so Charlie, to answer your question, that's kind of a really complex question, so I'll do my best. I'm in a unique situation where my class rosters change every quarter, ever so slightly. So I have new students in my classes every 8 weeks. And so I'm unable to track their progress over the course of a full school year. It's impossible for me to do. So when I hit my outcomes, I have to be very pick and choosy about them, and some of my students will miss content that their peers receive. And that's just the way that my program's designed. So I just make sure that if I'm teaching my 6th graders an outcome, I choose a 6th grade outcome from the Shape America grade level outcomes document. And if I'm teaching 7th graders, I choose a 7th grade outcome. I am not very concerned about if they're performing at a 6th or a 7th grade level. I'm more concerned about how they're achieving that one specific outcome for their age group. So, Andy, why don't we start talking about how we actually design those units? Like, it's one thing to say I do an outcomes-based unit, right? but like how do we actually design it, and what does that look like in our classrooms?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me bring up, and this time I promise when I share my screen it'll actually work. So this is what I'm coming to now. This is my, can you see there it says grade prep throwing?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is my curriculum document. And I really started to learn that the power of transparency plus. And if I could walk in and show the principal exactly what was happening, then she knew that the physical education program was a progressive program moving forward, and that it was actually leading at that stage the curriculum documents moving around the school. So I had to be very clear and specific with what I did, and this is an example of grade prep throwing. So with my learning intentions there, I put down what I want the kids to achieve at the end of the unit. Now this is a 5-week unit, and so my intentions were that the focus on throwing technique, focusing on throwing towards targets, be involved in games, promote throwing with distance and accuracy. But then it was my success criteria that really came into play. And this is what every week I refer to, and it's my pre-game speech, it's my post-game speech, it's my timeout speeches to the kids. Can the kids, success criteria, are you keeping your eyes on the target? Are you demonstrating underarm and overarm throwing techniques? Can you point towards your target? Can you follow through after you throw? Can you step forward as you throw? The kids really start to set kids up. And really, what we're doing through this planning is we're setting kids up for success. We're mapping it out so we know what's in there, but we're really setting kids up for success. Underneath there, I then have a little cartoon, which I got from Helena Barth, the Canadian professor, and her posters are magnificent. And what we'll try and do is, towards the end of the presentation, maybe when it's finished, I'll link her those and view those. But that really gives me a guidance as to what I'm looking for. But the other thing too, guys, is that I often think, all right, if I was to fall over tomorrow and not be able to teach, then the kids in my classroom are going to be disadvantaged if I leave no work that a teacher can easily pick up and move forward from. And let's face it, not everyone has success criteria, and if you have a teacher walking to perform, but the kids shouldn't be disadvantaged from it. So moving through there, we're then able to set the tasks up. But what I'm able to do, and we can see this is week 4, so this was 2 weeks ago, is with, and Naomi, I know I've spoken to you about this, and this is our little conversation a couple of weeks back, is dropping photos into your document to show evidence of the learning, and that cues our memory as to where the kids were the previous week. And that's really important, because I see 25 classes a week at 1 hour each, and the week the week that goes, I don't forget about it, but there's so much that happens. There's 550 kids that pass me, and so the week that is coming, I need to just have sometimes a little visual reminder to go, right, that's where we're up to. There's some evidence there to show me exactly what we were on, and so we can constantly move forward. So it just gives everyone a bit of a view about how, right from the get-go, I've got planning built around students. And so moving forward, anyone will be able to pick them up, walk in off the street, and teach these kids so the kids aren't disadvantaged. Show me yours.
Yeah, so I'm not going to share anything like with my screen. I'm just going to talk, but I think that there's a difference between the curriculums that are available in the U.S. and the ones that I've had the opportunity to see in other countries, and there's a lot of differences, and Naomi and I have talked about this a lot, but one of the big differences is that I don't think an American student can be taught by any PE teacher or attend any school and have the same experience. Like, it's just not even going to happen. I mean, even in the same district, that's very rare for them to have such great horizontal and vertical alignment across their school district. For me, when I'm designing my outcomes-based unit, I always lead with the outcome. I always figure out what outcome am I going to teach before I determine what activity I'm going to do. I try my best to not say, okay, well, I really want to teach volleyball. Now, what outcome does that meet? I think of the outcome first and then determine what activity it can teach and instill in the kids. And maybe that's not volleyball, right? So I use true backwards design, and I know that our audience knows what backwards design is, but I think that there's a lot of times when we forget to use it. And so I lead with that outcome. I determine what I want my students to know. I determine what I want them to understand. I determine what they can do in my class or what they should be able to do. And then I determine how I'm going to assess that. Am I going to observe them? Am I going to have them write on a Post-it note? Am I going to have something on a giant dry erase board that they contribute to? Am I going to do something where they're communicating with kids all the way across the world, like our students are going to start doing in just a little bit? And so I want to encourage people to check out our resource document that we included in the TASL, because we put a ton of photos of assessments that we've done in our classes that you guys can check out. And then after I figure out how I'm going to assess them, then that's when I design the lesson. So does this happen every single day in my class? No, it doesn't. But it's my goal for it to. And that's my ideal day. And sometimes it's out of my control of what space I'm teaching in and what equipment is available at that time, because I do share my space with 3 other teachers. So sometimes I do have to lead with the activity first and then find an outcome, but I take that very seriously when I do it to make sure that my students are being assessed fairly. And to make sure that it's taught effectively and it's still of value to them and of value to me. So, you know, Andy, earlier this summer, about 2 months ago, we were talking, and you were sharing ideas of ways that teachers can collaborate that work in different schools to make sure that their expectations and their assessments are consistent. So, and you were kind of hitting upon that before, but like, what do you really envision? Like, share that with the audience.
All right. So this is my, and you're hearing it first, guys. Probably second after I shared with somebody else. But this is my vision for physical education, and this is worldwide. No joke. So everyone here, this is our, you know, we're all mates. And, you know, I'm employed in my school, and I've got one other guy that sits next to me. That's cool. But what I value is that everyone that is listening today is part of my staff. So why can't we use similar documents there to ensure that kids are assessed and provoked and really enriched a very similar way? So I'm going to go back and I'm going to share you another document. And this is something that it's just blowing me away. Bit by bit, it's starting to really kick in and gain some momentum. So we call it moderation. Now, Sarah, what I've started to do, this is called a fundamental motor skills rubric. And as I was assessing my kids a couple of weeks ago, I'm looking at the different things that I wanted to assess them on with a 2-hand strike. So my kids were doing a brilliant job, and I was only assessing 2 skills. So I was assessing eyes are focused on the ball throughout the strike and step towards the target with the foot opposite preferred hand during the strike. So they're the only 2 things that I was looking at. So that was my goal. It wasn't, you know, that complete swing. I had to break it down so then it became teachable points. So it started to occur to me there that all of a sudden I was producing a document which my teacher that works for teacher and I could both use to ensure that when a kid goes home and they tell mum and dad, hey, Mr. Hare gave me an 8 out of 10 today for my striking skills in grade 1s, that the parents knew exactly what it was, that their next door neighbour was given an 8 as well, and that the kids have very similar skills. So we're starting to breed consistency. Now the teacher that's 4Ks down the road could then use this document because the student they teach at their school actually lives over their back fence. And so all of a sudden the 3 parents have got together and they've gone, right, well, my kid's doing this, my kid's doing that, my kid's doing that, and they're assessed at all these different marks. Now, if parents are starting to get on board and actually understand the scoring system, and they can see that it's transferring through that physical appearance. So those 3 kids, when they're in the street, they should be able to demonstrate the exact same skills. So that's one idea. The other idea is that down the track, this document could go overseas. Now, a 10-year-old child, if I'm assessing a 10-year-old child, and we have another 10-year-old child in California, that both those 10-year-old children should be exhibiting a very similar skill. They come from different backgrounds. My kids will be able to kick a football 35 metres as a 10-year-old boy. You know, in California, they might only be able to kick a football 10 metres. However, your 10-year-old boys will be able to catch a baseball in a baseball glove really easily, whereas my kids will even. Another really cool document I wanted to show you there leads on to this. So this becomes our fundamental motor skills, I guess, teacher moderation, not that one. I want to go to this one. So another teacher and I. So this is a really cool example. So a teacher is walking in, and this is the power of that consistency again against the standard level. Is that kids, we shouldn't be assessing kids upon grades. We should actually be assessing them through a continuum of success. So from, you know, gamifying PE, they're at level 1 as they come into that prep year, and then when they leave grade 6, they may have reached up to level 5, but there may be 10 levels in this game. So the kids need to know how they're progressing through. So this is just built purely on Google Slides, and it's 3 video captures that is demonstrating 3 different standards of catching. Now the idea here is that you, Sarah, in your school, need, you know, together we're trying to assess the kids the same and give the kids the same feedback. So what we're actually doing is holding this on an iPad. We're looking at the child as they're catching, then looking at the iPad, looking at the child, looking at the iPad, looking at the child, looking at the iPad, and trying to at level 1, are they at level 2, or are they at level 3? And it really, really starts to localize and bring this whole world right down so close that teachers can work really powerfully with each other across the board. So yeah, that's my big idea at the moment that I'm really, really passionate about, is trying to really get teachers to understand that kids are very, very similar in different schools. They're just, and they've had different backgrounds through it, but essentially where they are progressively and physically is very, very similar.
Yeah, I think one of the examples that you and I discussed was that students in Australia play cricket, and they're very familiar with cricket, whereas kids in the U.S., they maybe have heard of it, haven't really been exposed to it, have never played it before. And, you know, I think one reason why is, you know, there's just this cultural barrier, but it's also a very complex game to an American when you even read the rules and try to understand it. Like, I'm incredibly baseball savvy, and I read the cricket rules, and clearly they're not the same game. I get that. But somebody who's very knowledgeable about baseball just assumes that they will understand every single striking and fielding game, and they don't. But the example that you and I gave was, if one of your students came to my school and we were playing a striking game, they would be able to take all the knowledge that you had taught them in cricket or cricket-type movements or skills,
Yes.
and they would be able to perform effectively in my class with no cultural barriers and no challenges with learning the new game.
100%. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So we are getting some fantastic questions on the Tazzle, and like they're going to guide our conversation right now, and I promised the people I would answer them. So let me make sure if everybody could stop typing, so we'll stop going up. Oh my gosh, so hilarious. And let's see. The first question, Mel, hello. You said, Sarah and Andy, are you using rubrics, and are the rubrics really specific? Mel, I use rubrics, yes, when I'm designing my assessments, and all of my rubrics are 4-level rubrics. Because of a lot of reasons, but that's just the way that I'm comfortable teaching my kids. And I always make sure that my students know what they're being assessed over, why they're being assessed over it, how I'm assessing them, and when. It's never a surprise. And do my colleagues use outcomes-based instruction as well as a department-wide? No, it is not. I teach in a department of 4 physical educators, and I'm the only one who uses this approach. And so that could cause some challenges for the kids as they move from year to year, I guess. And Mel, the other question you asked was, do you only write outcome-based rubrics for skills? No. I write them for everything. So my favorite standard in the U.S. is Standard 2, which is assessing a student's ability to understand and apply tactics and strategies. Like I tell people, if all I had to do was teach Standard 2, I would sign that line immediately because I love it and I feel like I'm really good at it, and it's just so fun to me. And so I make sure that I assess the cognitive aspects in my class. I make sure that I assess their physical aspects, and I also assess their ability to socialize effectively with each other and their responsibility in class. Andy, I know I'm kind of talking a lot here.
That was a great one, because let me give you a live example of that rubric as well, just building on what you said, and I apologise I interrupted there.
No,
but
go.
What, yeah, like last week I just finished about our own sport, but the big sports here are NBA, baseball, American football. You can have sport live here on TV. If there's an NBA game on, kids will turn over and watch that, hands down. So the unit we just finished, the kids actually assessed themselves last week using a rubric on Google Forms. And it was really cool. And it was just 3 simple questions with a little bit of description, and they had to choose where they were on that continuum. This week I have the beauty, the luxury of actually assessing their portfolios, and I get to assess them as well. So they will get an auto-created certificate with their comments and my comments put to it, and that's their assessment. I'll assess them on their movement and physical activity for our government standards, but the kids will actually get back my opinion and their opinion together, so their parents can then add that onto that rubric, because it's such a cool tool.
Andy, somebody asked you a specific question. Are you teaching the skills specifically, or are you seeing them in small-sided games?
Well, that example that I gave there with my fundamental motor skills rubrics was my Prep 1-2s. So my Prep 1-2s, I assess them specifically to the skill, because prior to them actually then taking those skills and being assessed in a game situation. Let's go back to building a pizza, guys. I'm feeling hungry here. I'm going to shout you guys some pizzas when I come over. But we got to make the dough, and we've got we need it, we work it, we put it in the fridge, we bring it out, we work it again, and then we get to put the cheese on it, and we get to put the sauce on it, we get to put the ham on it, mushrooms on it, and anything else you want on your pizza. But what we're putting on top all of a sudden comes in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, because we have trained those kids with a great base of structure that they can then be successful when they move into their teaching games for understanding unit. And move forward. So my grades 3, 4, 5, 6, I assess them in small-sided from those fundamental motor skills. My job as a games, you can teach volleyball, and you can only teach volleyball effectively because I have taught net wall sports effectively, and I can only teach net wall sports effectively because I've taught the kids to throw and catch effectively in Prep 1, 2. So it is a huge thing, and this is why we've got a partnership. We've got a partnership with the people that are, yeah.
Okay, so Andy, it looks like we have about 8 minutes left. So, yeah, I know, it's flying. This is flying. We need like 3 more hours, okay? So we'll just forget about Bernie, forget about everybody else tonight. No, I'm kidding. So I don't know what we want to hit on our like to-do list of what we think are like the absolute most important things to cover. But I would love for you to share with the audience quickly what you mean by the term learning intentions, because I feel like that's a very Australian word. At least I hadn't heard it before talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So learning intention. So what I wanted to share is, yep, absolutely, is this. Learning intention. So the kids are actually successful straight up. I have my book, my great book of ideas down there, and the kids have free access to that. In a previous session, that there's probably 5 or 6 pens I want to write in the book. But the learning intention last week from my class is how can you stop a ball in T-ball? So we played a game of T-ball, and that was it. That was purely it. If a kid hit a home run, I give him a clap. Okay, that's great, but that's not the intention. The intention was that when I was teaching there, I was out in the field, and I was getting around all those kids, and I was helping them understand, okay, we've got a right-handed batter coming up here. Where are you going to stand? We're up here. Where are you going to stand? We've got, the kid. There's always one kid in the class that everyone moves back for, because they know they're going to hit the ball over the top. So I talk to the kids about, okay, where's that kid, or who is that kid, and where are they going to hit the ball, and can you put yourself in a position where you can start predicting? So, teaching with intent, I go home with a sore throat every night because it is so busy in getting those kids moving. One of the other examples there of the learning intent is starting to break it down. So I shut down the skill-specific learning intent, and I brought in the teamwork side of things. We did a big brainstorm using the book. We then went through the book and we looked what was missing, and we worked on it with the kids, and we actually put this up and displayed it. And we said, okay, with the language, today, using the positive language with your teammates and with the opposition, fairness, we need to follow the rules. What are the rules? Are we able to share things around? And gameplay, what is my role? What do I need to do in this position? Am I using the equipment correctly? With learning intentions, it breaks it all down for the kids to really, really understand and capture what it is that they need to do in that lesson to show success. It's breaking learning down and peering through that class through the kids' eyes. Again, looking back on it, I've been teaching for a long time, but if I teach with my experience, the kids are not going to learn anything. I need to teach with fresh eyes through the kids and look to where they're going, because if I can honestly see, and I'm such a big believer on this, if I can honestly see where they're going, then my effectiveness as a teacher is going to remain so high that it's just, it's amazing. It gives me goosebumps every time I think about it, in that I walk into a class with the idea of what's going to happen, but my learning intent for the following week is unknown, because the outcome of today will determine what's going to happen next week. So yeah, that's what I sort of mean about that visible learning. As a teacher, we get busy with the kids and activate ourselves and really, really make sure that every kid there is successful.
Well, yeah, Andy, I want to bring up the point with the audience that doesn't know this about you, is that you only see your students for 60 minutes a week, and you see them for that length of time. So some schools, I know they have equal times, but you see them once a week. And so when you're referring to the learning intention the next week, you literally go, 7 days without seeing your kids, and you're still able to provide them tons of activity, and you're also able to provide them tons of time to just write and reflect and talk and film themselves and do all kinds of crazy things. And so you make the most out of your time, and I think that the audience needs to know that about you. So one of the things that I like to do in my classroom is that I like to make all of my outcomes kid-friendly. And so everything is written in terminology that my students understand. And if I ever have trouble coming up with that terminology, I ask my students to write it for me. And then they come up with things that I could never even imagine, and it's always the best. But it's my firm belief that if something is kid-friendly, it is parent-friendly. Yes. And and we get rid of that educational jargon, right? And Andy, our outcomes, at least in the U.S., are also full with educational jargon. Right?
Yeah.
So like if an outsider were to read our outcomes, they'd be like, what does this even mean? And so you have to rephrase everything so that your students understand it and your parents understand it as well. Okay, so Andy, here's the funny thing. We've got about 2 minutes left, and the Tazo audience is saying, go all the way to 10 p.m. Go to 10 p.m. So is there anything? We'll go as far as you can, right? So what do we still need to talk about? What do we still need to address before it's time to go?
Do you know what we need to do is we need to connect the audience, okay? Into Sarah's classroom. My year's halfway through, guys, and I've got these bars, I've got this energy. I've just eaten a bag full of jelly beans. You can probably tell. But really, like the audience, it doesn't finish here. It really doesn't finish here. That you took the effort to get into Phys Ed Summit. You took the effort to spend your hour right at the moment with Sarah and I. Take the effort, invite you into the office and share with you. I'll put you up on Skype. I'll put you up on Google Hangout. Watch a lesson, engage, share, reflect, conversations. It all happens, and it happens because you guys are now passionate about moving forward. The big thing that I guess I want to tell everyone is make it purposeful, break it down, see everything through kids' eyes. If you have to write through kid-friendly language. One of the great things, Sarah, for reporting structure, and we know every time I comment, I'm writing to and I'm telling that child how they've done and what it is they need to make. Parents come in as a third party and they read that, but they then have that rich with the students. And guys, we need to keep that going. We need to keep momentum going. We need your help. We need the help. You never know where you're going to be in time. I might pop up in your school. You might pop up in my school. We might all take over Naomi's job. You just don't know. So it's about trying to make sure that you take one small step every single week, have one goal for yourself, one goal for your students. And then you're not going to get overloaded, because it's very, very easy to become overwhelmed with the content that we talk about. And we as presenters need to remember that we're actually coming over the top and giving people that's the really, really cool part about it.
Okay, so Andy, I'm gonna. Oh, sorry if I interrupted you. You cut out for just a little tad. I'm gonna leave the audience with one big thought. If you're already using outcomes-based instruction in your program, first of all, thumbs up. I believe that elementary schools in the U.S. are already doing this. I hope you are. You should be. I'll just be honest about that. But here's my challenge. If you're already using it, can you try to teach 2 outcomes to the same class in the same lesson on the same day? So can you address 2 different outcomes at the same time, 2 different national standards at the same time? And please, and we need to get away from, here's a really cool game I learned at a conference. I want to teach it to my students, and it addresses National Standard 1 and National Standard 3. No. That's not the way it is. It's, I learned this really cool game at a conference, so I stick it on my desk and save it. And in a couple weeks, I teach this outcome. That game goes with the outcome. Okay, now I can use it in my class. It meets that outcome. It does not meet multiple national standards. And so, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you'd go to a convention and they'd give you a write-up of the lesson, and at the top it would say national standards, and it would list what standards it meets. That's not the way it should be done. And there might be people who disagree with that. But I really feel like these ideas that Andy and I have been sharing with you guys today are fairly new to a lot of people. I feel like we're trying to shift the paradigm a little bit, and that's kind of what I said at the beginning. I kind of want to knock your socks off a little bit. I kind of want those eyeballs to pop out of your head, because it's my belief and it's Andy's belief that this is the way that PE should be taught.
And mine.
Oh, boom! Andy's socks just came off, everybody.
That's funny.
Absolutely. I want to leave with one message, and this is going to connect to Naomi's first message. And it's the Phys Ed Summit's goal was to take one thing and really, change the lives of 100 kids. Okay. Now let's break this. Thing, and teachers teach this week, there's going to be well and truly over 1 million kids that are going to receive quality physical education this week, worldwide. And that is an unbelievable thing.
Boom.
Boom.
And on that note, it is, Sarah, you have a session right away after this one, so we better let you go.
Yes.
You do. Say hi to Bernie for me.
I will. Andy will probably talk tomorrow, knowing us, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Power of social media, power of Voxer. Thank you so much to you both. I can't even add anything to that, because you two are so enthusiastic about how you say things, and it just gets everybody fired up and really believing in the right concept as we're all dancing here. So I'm going to let you go because you got to go. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. And everybody that's here, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are. Let's continue this journey together.
See you guys.